Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk to the Internet, a podcast that we do occasionally. My name is Bruce Green. That is Lawrence Sontag over on your left, and that is Criken on your far right. Was that good, Lawrence? Was that a good
great.
intro?
That was
You just did the whole thing. Yeah, just keep going.
Okay, all right. Today, we are going to talk about things such as Criken's vacation, possibly the new Loki episode. Maybe you guys didn't watch it. Maybe we'll talk about anime. Probably talk about hentai. Oh, no, we're not going to talk about hentai. Maybe we'll talk about video games like the new Switch.
Yeah.
And also Assassin's Creed. And maybe we'll talk about art, YouTube, Twitch, and we already talked about hot tubs. So no hot tubs this time around. Talk to the internet.
Specifically, hot tubs are off the menu.
Number 52? Is it 52, 53?
I think it's 52, yeah.
52. Yeah, did I do it? Was that good?
Slammed it, Bruce. That was a
slammed
tomahawk
it.
jam. Holy crap.
Wow.
Woo! I'll take it.
Best in the biz. Oh, speaking of hentai, very brief mention. Can you believe that there's a porn game that does not have cloud saves? I had to reinstall Windows, and now I have to start over.
Wait, which porn game were you playing that did not have cloud saves?
Subverse?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yes, that's right.
Luckily, you can skip most of the dialogue, but you still got to get through those shooting.
Incredible.
You got to get through the video game part, and I'm just like,
Oh,
Yeah.
we hate those.
Lawrence,
Alas.
let me tell you this. Every time I go, because I look at Steam pretty much every day. I look at like early access and things like that because I'm like, oh, what's new that I can play? And every day I have the same jump in excitement and then letdown, which is I look through the Steam early access category, like the top sellers, and then there's always like a Subverse or some other NSFW game. And I'm like, what is that sexy game? I'm gonna play that on Twitch right now. And then I look at it, it says NSFW, and I'm like, fucking shit. Can't play that. Every day I do the same thing, which is I go, oh, I'm going to play this game. Oh, man, I can't play that on Twitch.
I got one for you. My buddy Lawman played it recently. It's like, the whole thing looks like the setup for a porno. I didn't watch the stream release, so I don't know if it resulted in that, but it's apparently Twitch friendly.
Okay. What's it called?
Let's see if I can find it.
If it's called Police Simulator, I already played it.
No. It's here, I'll find it. It was hilarious from what I saw. It's very short though. It's like 2.5 hours. So don't.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
it's longer than I usually last.
I could just ask Lawman or go through. You know what? I'll just go through his.
I found it. It's
Oh, you got it. Okay.
it's a B&B game. You know, like one of those where it takes place and you're in an Airbnb essentially, and there's like a bunch of anime girls that are like, you know, around you and like flirting with you.
What's the name of it?
He for some reason his stream is just labeled just chatting. I don't know if he's
No, he's trying to hide it. He's trying to hide
I
it.
guess so. I'm trying to
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do some digging. All right, I'll find it.
Wait, is it called Together B&B?
Ooh, that might be it.
Someone in chat seems to know.
Yep,
Trey,
that is it. That is 100% it. The graphics are like, super. It looks like it's like made on the new Unreal, but the voice acting is like clearly done by a bunch of.
This looks amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, it's called B&B. What is it called?
Together
B&B.
B&B. Yeah.
Together
They've all got
B&B.
buck teeth. That's when you know you're in for a good time.
Yeah, it's. You can tell a lot
Whoa,
was invested
that is
in the
sexy.
The Unreal demo.
Goodness
And
gracious.
the voice acting all definitely is very amateur. It seems like they just called up any of their local Swedish friends and had them just voice these characters.
How dare you, Criken? You know what? I bet you didn't know this. I'm a voice actor in that game.
Really?
Yeah, they called me up.
I didn't know you did such a convincing Swedish accent, or a fake Swedish American accent. Very good.
I also do a really good anime girl. So I
Yeah,
talk like
let's hear it.
this. Oh, whoops, my dress fell off.
Yeah, that's
Right?
That's about
It's
right.
pretty convincing,
You're
right?
supposed to turn beet red in embarrassment and then stand shocked still in utter terror as an old man crawls on top of you. Bruce,
They
that's
paid
the
me
anime way.
They paid me an exposure, guys. They paid me an exposure.
Oof.
Get it?
Yeah, you were exposed for sure.
Ugh. We move on.
Yeah.
I regret bringing this up.
Let me allow me for the first time in my life to be the ripcord out of an uncomfortable topic. But I kind of miss the days when Steam didn't allow full adult material, because that mean like there was that weird window where games had to patch out the adult content or try to patch it in later and all that. But it was nice because you essentially got to play really explicit games, but with all the explicit stuff cut out. So it was like watching a porn without the porn, which is really funny. So that was a fun window, but sadly it's not there anymore. The only other way I've intersected with that is I remember I was playing like Witcher 3 and it was Valentine's Day and I was like, ooh, let's get some like some spicy mods in here. And it turns out it is shockingly impossible to find like sexy lingerie mod. No, it's all just giant boobs and vagine. And there was one for Geralt who had with like a giant dick. But there's no just like playfully sexy mods. It's just all the way in.
It's all
that's
all full on. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, this podcast is brought to you by Nordvpn. We'll talk about that later. Hopefully, now we're out of the porn section of the podcast. So.
You'd think so. Speaking of risque mods, I mean,
you keep bringing this up, Criken. You keep talking about it.
This is where my this is the limits, right, of what I'm capable of embracing and talking about on a live show. But I have done plenty of research into the world of Oblivion and Skyrim mods, and pretty much anything in the Bethesda wheelhouse is Horntown population, the entire gamer population. But there are a couple that so there are two different instances that I've had where I've had close calls with porn mods on stream with like this world. One of them was for Oblivion. There's a fantastic combat overhaul mod that is like called, I think, Deadly Reflexes, where it actually changes the entire combat up. It makes it really engaging. There's like a slow-mo mode. You can like decapitate people, behead people. It's the same thing. You can cut off limbs, all sorts of stuff based on your swings and like all sorts of stuff. And so the mod's great, but it's really old. And for some reason, the last version of it that was uploaded to any sort of like modding website included a full-on nude mesh for men that is just always on. And so I installed this and I'm playing with it on stream, and someone in my comments is like, hey, did you check taking your clothes off? Because I'm pretty sure your ass is out. And I'm like, okay,
no.
Okay, look at you trying to get me, calling my ass out. It's clear you're just trying to make me look like a fool. Here, I'll show you. And I take off my pants in the game, and it's just bare ass on screen. I'm like, whoa!
Oh, wow.
I hide it, and I have to manually go in and delete the mesh for the male genitalia, and then like it. Oh God! So that was one of them. That was a close call. And the second one was there's like a ton of companion mods for Skyrim that are all like meant to be like romantic followers that, they travel with you and fall in love with you, and then you sleep with them in like, the inn in Whiterun or some shit. And it's so funny because their voice acting is like so needlessly horny. So I have these companions with me, but I'm just playing Skyrim like normal, and we're like fighting like, I don't know, spiders, and she walks up and she's like, oh my lord, you are so strong. Like, please quiet down. We're fighting for our lives.
You're in the middle of a fight. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun if you can manage to skirt around, the actual porn part.
Man, that sounds great. I got to get myself into that world now that I've just played Skyrim for the first time.
Oh yeah, I saw that. How'd that go?
It was awesome. Man, it was so awesome. Like I knew I'd love it because it felt to me, so Fallout 3 was a big deal for me. I played Fallout 3 a ton. And then I think Skyrim was their next release after that, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And so I knew Skyrim was going to be a game I loved. I just never got a chance to sit down and play it because I wanted to invest some time into it and just never did. So the 24-hour stream was awesome. And actually, by the end of that 24-hour stream, my time was up and I just kept playing. Like I was just like, fuck it, I'll just play for a few more minutes. Like I was tired, but I was like, I'm having a good time. So
that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's is it safe to say that's one of the greatest video games of all time? Is that safe to say? I don't know.
Sure. Definitely, a lot of people wouldn't agree, but I do think it came out like at a really important time and was like a it's still kind of the go-to for a lot of people for like a great open world RPG experience. So
I saw Lawrence frown.
I'm not a Skyrim fan.
I know you're not. Yeah, no, I know you're not. But you tell me why, Lawrence, because I'm interested to hear.
Well, I mean, what Criken was saying about that mod that revamps the combat had me extremely interested, because to me, like, I tried multiple kinds of combat and none of them were interesting in Skyrim. At least it was either like skill did not make the difference pretty much any of the time. Either you had the gear and enough cheese wheels in your backpack to kill something, or you didn't, and there wasn't really any in between. So like my inputs to the game didn't matter much, either in combat or like the stories I didn't find them that interesting. It was all like MMO tier, like quest design. Not a knock, but I'd been playing like single player RPGs on the PC that had done that and better for years.
Right.
So just it's like everything about it is kind of a 7 out of 10. Which is fine. I will say that like the things that it does right is it was a revolution in like removing friction from the video game process. So the things that like I want in a game, most people don't, and I acknowledge that. Like I want to go into a cave and get killed by a skeleton warrior and figure out how to beat him. But most people just want to go into a cave, see a skeleton warrior, hit it in the head until it's dead, and then get its loot, and then leave the cave, and then go to another cave that has a skeleton warrior that's gold. It did have that. It almost felt like an idle game, where you just leave it running and you click on something every so often to tell your guy to go to a new dungeon, and then you just see your little dude whacking.
Yeah.
And I feel like, kind of like Criken said, for when it came out and for the people that it was able to reach, and certainly for its mass market appeal, it's certainly extremely well crafted. But I don't know. I'm the video game equivalent of the guy who only watches like black and white foreign films to some degree. So.
Lawrence, I completely agree, and there's a huge asterisk on my playthrough. I mean, I told my mods I was going to do the 24-hour stream about a week previous, and obviously a lot of my mods were like, "Oh my gosh, so excited!" And they were like, "Let us get some mods for you." And so they put. My mod Tesseract put together like fucking 20 mods, and so I played
a ton. Yeah,
I absolutely. So I go back to what Lawrence is saying. There is that. The stock Skyrim game, I'm sure, had a ton of friction, because I was playing with a bunch of mods that were supposed to make it better, and there's still friction. So I think your points are well taken there, Lawrence. I completely agree, because this game is now 10 years old, or almost 10 years old. And so, of course, we can all look at it with, nostalgic eyes and then put a bunch of mods on it and be like, wow, what a great game. But back then when it first came out, it's like, well, I might have had some trouble.
I caught some of your stream. I saw some of those mods. I was like, oh, praise God. He's like, because you had like an inventory mod and a UI mod, and all that stuff is vital. I think that's the other thing. In like circa 2013, that game was made for console. Like the UI, the interface, which is another reason why it did so well and was able to reach so many people. But I'm a dork over here on PC, and having to use like radial menus and like giant text for everything. I mean, the mods we were using make it more of a PC RPG. But at launch, I was just like, bleh. I don't know. I feel like, and again, mods have certainly gone a long way into fixing this. But I remember in 2013, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it looks so great! It's so immersive." I didn't think it looked that good either. But then again, I was like, I don't know. I was burned out on Crysis already when it comes to like big open environments that look incredible and are very explorable.
That's the latent PC gamer energy of you.
Yeah. No, it's the same with me. I mean, like all the mods that I have installed on it for the run through now that I'm playing, it looks great, but that's not what it looked like when it came out.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I ran it stock, and that's the Skyrim Special Edition, by the way. So even then it's been improved.
Sure.
Just stock on Steam over the course of the few years. So it isn't the game that it was at launch, which is cool that they've improved it and fixed it throughout the time. But I when it released, I'm sure people were not like, this is a great game, but they weren't like, this is one of the greatest games of all time. It may have cemented its legacy over the course of 10 years now. So I don't know. Same deal for Battlefield, where I've been playing Battlefield 4, and it feels terrific and polished, but also it's 8 years old.
That's true.
So it's like they've had 3 years to improve the thing, and then another 5 for me to go back and be like, well, something happens that's bad in the game. I'm like, Battlefield, whatever. It's 8 years old, so it's really easy to say that it's a good game. Which to me makes like Breath of the Wild like a revelation, because that game came out and at release it was, to me, practically perfect. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just I've been playing a lot of old games recently and being like, this game's great, and then I'm thinking about it and being like, wait a minute, hold on. It's been out for a long time. People have improved it for years. So,
yeah, that's totally fair.
Breath is really something. Because I started playing through that again recently, just because the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer got me all juiced up.
Yeah.
And like, what's crazy is that game has like systems and mechanics governing everything going on that are so many layers deep than I thought. Just the way that enemies in the world rank up and the way that they're placed, and even their AI changes based on a multitude of factors. And it's pretty cool. Like, the enemies actually get smarter when you play on harder difficulties or the world levels up. And you can kind of see that based on how they act and what they do when you crash their camps. And if you like steal their weapons, do they go find other ones, or do they just try to fight you barehanded? Like, little things like that lead to the game. Like, I don't want to make this sound like a superior or inferior comparison. It's more like the attributes that ring true to me. Is that when I'm playing that game, I can assault a moblin camp like 20 times from 20 different areas, and it's going to turn out different every time, and I have to react as the situation evolves and changes. Whereas, a cave filled with draugrs, I go in there with my sword and I hit them all until they die.
Yeah.
So, it's almost like that, like Borderlands feel, where you can just get baked off your gourd and have a great time, because it's not going to throw really complicated mechanics at you that you can't really. And it also, like, at the end of a long day, if you're stressed out and you don't want a bunch of goddamn moblins outthinking you and dropping a rock on your head, I get it. There's 100% like a time and a place for that, and I have come over my what's the word, pretension. I used to think Skyrim was bad. Now I think it's extremely well made, just not for me.
Yeah, that's a good development. It's good character development.
Yeah,
I respect that. I think for Skyrim, another thing that's helpful, and what I generally do with games, is rather than write them off, or like if they're basically a big sandbox game, and even if it's too simple for me, I'll impose my own rules to make it more appealing and more variety, right? So that's the same for like Pokemon, doing like a Nuzlocke challenge, and something like Skyrim. I was doing permadeath challenges where if you die, I had to make a new character, and I had a bunch of mods that made it really quick for me to randomize a new character with new stats and start off somewhere else randomly in the world. So there was like this kind of constant churn of like, okay, what are we doing now? Like, what's the new objective? And then I also had a bunch of like way over-tuned mods where if things were getting a little too like tedious, we could try a gauntlet where things would like almost inevitably kill my character. I think my favorite one was there's a Pokemon mod in Skyrim, and it makes a Pokemon Center outside of Whiterun, which is like the jankiest Pokemon Center in the world. There's no reason it needed to exist, but in like the basement of the Pokemon Center is a Draugr, tomb, because of course it's Skyrim. Why wouldn't there be? But at the end of the Draugr tomb, there's this like gauntlet where they have literally the highest level characters in the game in this little room. And if you can sprint past all of them, there's a chest with like 90,000 gold coins or something. And so it just became this like constant allure of all of our characters, where I'd make a character and inevitably we'd be like short for cash. And someone in chat would be like, there's always money under the Pokemon Center. And we'd be like, oh God, you're right. We're going to do it again. And so we'd like run down there and we'd die and we'd have to make a new character. So I think it's fun to like, add mods that spice things up and allow you to experience something new.
Yeah, it's that game just did it so well, and even now, like the mod workshop is basically installed on the game, right? So like you don't even have to worry about going to Nexus Mods or whatever. It's just there if you want to install it through the game, which is so cool. I again, that's like it's so weird to judge the game 5-10 years on, but me being so lucky having discovered it now that all of those things are in place, and I could be like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe there's a mod workshop installed on there. You could do anything you want. Like you said, there's permadeath or, you know, Pokemon Center. There aren't many games like that exist where you could do anything you want with this video game on almost any platform too, on the consoles, on PCs, whatever. So I got super lucky, and I'm glad that I waited this long, but also maybe I'm not that glad. Maybe I wish I had gotten to play it with everybody else and experience all those same things that everybody else did, because it was a blast. It was such a blast. It was so easy to play for 24 hours. It was like not even it's back when you were a kid and you could sit down and play a video game for 12 hours and not even realize time had passed.
Yeah.
That's what this was. Like I was just kind of like chilling.
Totally. Well,
playing
when it first
Skyrim.
came out, I actually took off of school that day, and played it the entire day. But I had my YouTube channel already, and so I convinced my parents, like, look, this is a big release. I'm gonna release a video the same day, and I did. I went back and I checked my upload day. My first Skyrim video was released the same day as Skyrim's release, and it has a lot of content in there. I just played my ass off, and then I edited for the rest of the night, and I uploaded it. And yeah, I mean, I was impressed too. It had the bug where like the giant would hit the ground and you'd go flying up in the air. I was like one of the first YouTube videos to upload that.
That bug still exists, by the way, Criken. That happened to me with my companion.
It because it was like such a community, favorite thing.
Yeah, it was great. That happened to me on the 24-hour stream where I got my companion got hit by a giant and literally shot into space. I have no idea where she went. She was just gone. So yeah, it's I don't know. It was great. It was just a fantastic time, and I hadn't thought about gaming that way in a while.
Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah, it was nice. Criken, I was going to ask you about your vacation. What'd you do? Where'd you go? How long?
I went to
were
Austin,
you gone?
Actually, I was only there for 4 days, but it was a welcome break. Yeah, I left on Friday night, and then I came back yesterday night. But it was pretty cool. We were there for the 4th, visiting some college friends and their family who has a house out there. So we're able to kind of like get that home cooked meal stuff and enjoy the 4th of July with a bunch of Texans who know how to celebrate it well. And yeah, it was nice. It felt very nostalgic, like an earlier period of my life. So I liked it a lot.
Did you go down to Crazy 6th Street?
We walked through it on the 4th.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah. I think I saw the bar that we went to together when you were like passing us tequila shots. I think it was you and Alex.
No, that was Couch Shop.
Yeah,
we were doing tequila shots with Couch Shop. This was like RTX 2017, possibly.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I saw a bunch of those places we went to, and so that was nostalgic too. We went through there. Stopped at like Rainy Street, which is like the
Rainy's awesome.
Rainy's great. Yeah. So yeah, it was nice. It's weird how little of an effect COVID seems to have at that point. I mean, I guess people are mostly vaccinated and are coming out, and like Texas doesn't really have any laws around masks. Yeah. But as a fully vaccinated person, like I felt comfortable going out there. Mm-hmm. But I could totally. It was very surreal. It really felt like, we had made it to the other side, and everyone was like celebrating the best they could.
That's good.
But really it was nice.
Lawrence knows I'm not crazy about Austin because I've been to Austin. I want to say hundreds of times.
Yeah, I know you have.
But there are honestly some really good spots. Rainy Street's one of my favorites, actually. I'm a big fan of Rainy, and also Sixth Street. Like I've been going to Austin since 2012, and I've been a lot of places in the world, not a lot, but let's say a good amount. And the drunkest I've ever seen any human being ever is in Austin, Texas. More than once. Really? More than once. No, absolutely. Like that 6th Street is fucking wild. And it has been for as long as I've been going. So that is always a sight to see for me, to go see what people are doing out in Texas.
Yeah, it was a little weird. So I don't know if we want to we can drop this topic if we don't want to go into it on this podcast. But there's a recent law passed in Texas that means, by their governor, that allows anyone to carry firearms without a license.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
geez,
you can just have them, and it's your your Texan right.
Yeah.
And that's led to over the time that we were there, I think 2 different shootings on 6th Street, both just between like basically kids, like, you know, people that were like 15, 16 at this like, you know, younger bar over like just personal disputes because they all have guns and they just feel they're entitled to like use them. So
Use them, yeah.
yeah, it was that was a little freaky. So we kind of hurried past 6th because we didn't want to stick around for that scene. But
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know about that actually. That's crazy.
that's spooky.
That's just
Somebody
like Texas
go ahead.
bar meta in general.
No, Lawrence is right. Yeah, Lawrence is right.
It's, I mean, I didn't grow up in Austin. I grew up in more rural areas, but yeah, there's
But
like
you were in Texas. To be clear, Lawrence grew up in Texas. So
yeah, you I mean, it's not a deterrent in the way people think it is. So I'm not arguing in favor of it, because when people get drunk, they don't care or they don't consider that the other person has a gun too. But yes, when people get drunk, like if you're not an idiot, you recognize that every other drunk asshole in the bar might have a gun in their car or on their person. So like, I don't know. I was always one to de-escalate for that reason, because I've been in a place where guns get pulled, and it ruins the night. Not like that should be a meaningless statement, but like it's just like dudes being shitty, and then dudes escalate, and then I don't know, toxic masculinity and like gorilla chesting comes out, and then once a gun gets drawn, it's like fuck, man. Like it could have been fun. Somebody, even a bar fight can be fun. Like
yeah, like an old bar fight. Like
yeah, somebody gets knocked out, he gets up, he forgets what happened, and then like people go back to partying. I've seen that happen. But once once a gun comes out, nope, party's over. And then like, God, it just sucks. It just really sucks. So guns are the opposite of party. Remember I said that.
I would agree.
Sometimes they can enhance a party, but often they don't.
I mean, like,
Lawrence.
I guess what I was going to say is
You're not shooting at anyone. You're just shooting.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, if you're shooting into like a hill out in your backyard of 3 square miles or whatever, then yeah, whatever. That's your American right. Go do it. But not in a bar. Like, come on. Like, there's no need for that.
Yeah, I think the gorilla chest beating is a great example. It definitely feels like once you're put in a position where you've got to prove that you're harder than someone else, then that's the escalation that gets dangerous. And God, I just can't understand it. I'll never wrap my head around it.
Stuff's deep.
Yeah,
man. People with absentee fathers and.
Yeah,
they have all kinds of like crazy, a mixture of toxic masculinity plus, emotional issues they've never dealt with. They get 5 light beers in and all these emotions start coming out, and that's the worst time to try to process anything. So yeah. You're absolutely right. It's just a descent. You can almost like feel it in the air when the temperature turns.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's
Yeah,
yeah, it sucks.
You mentioned, Bruce, you mentioned something, which I saw some interest from chat, and I'd like to know, for each of us, what's the drunkest person you've ever seen?
I'm glad you brought that up because I saw that comment too, and I wanted to answer it. So, the drunkest person I ever seen, what I mean by that is the drunkest in public. So, I've been to Vegas so many times. I've spent literally an entire week in Vegas, and I did that almost every year for a bunch of years because of CES. And you see people drunk in Vegas a lot. What you don't see are people, and look, again, I didn't see this in Vegas. I saw it in Austin more than once, where I'd see people passed out on a trash can in the middle of hundreds of people, just like he'd like fallen asleep at like 10 p.m. Just with eyes closed, gone, and like me genuinely worried about this person, like being like, oh shit, like does this person need to go to the hospital? Like that's how drunk they look, and that happens often in Austin, Texas, where I see people just passed out, and we're not talking homeless people. I'm talking like a 22-year-old who's going to college in Austin, because like that's where like, because I'm concerned for anybody, whether or not homeless or not, I'm concerned for anybody that's on the street passed out like that, because I've seen that in Los Angeles a lot. But generally it's the homeless community, whereas in Austin, Texas, it's a college kid. And I just don't see that very often anywhere else I go. And it just seems the party is strong there, and it always has been. So, I don't know. That's drunk to me. I don't know what's drunk to you, Lawrence. The drunkest in public.
Let me think. I think the one that occurs to me. I mean, the person could still walk, so it wasn't like maybe there have been drunker, but it was in Austin, bizarrely. I can't remember what part of town I was in, but I was walking, like, this was in my poorer days, so I think I was in like a Motel 6. I was there for GDC, when they were doing GDC back then, writing up my sweet blog coverage for my sweet online websites that nobody read. But those were good days. Anyway, I'd gone out that night because I was like, well, I got $20. That's enough to get fucked up in Austin. So I went to like some bars and stuff. And when I was walking on the way back, kind of like how, I think I told this story before, but there was a guy just kind of leaning on the wall, just kind of vibing on the night. And I was on the other side of the street. And I saw the dude just leaning there, and I was like, oh, you know, whatever, that dude's feeling it. But then somebody was just like kind of shambling up the sidewalk. And I kind of got like weird vibes from him. Like I had already seen the shambling guy kind of make eye contact with the wall leaning guy. And there was just something about his like demeanor and his like posture that said to me like, this dude's going to start some shit. I don't know how I knew that, but
it's like, I'm drunker than you. No, I'm drunker than you.
Something like that. It was just like this weird, yeah, he just, sometimes you can tell kind of that thing with like dudes and when they don't know how to process stuff. You can tell when somebody's trying to get in a fight. And bizarrely, sometimes you can tell when somebody's trying to get in a fight and lose. Like some people just want to get beat up. It's very weird. Anyway, so this dude shambling up to wall leaning guy, and I'm kind of like, oh fuck, I can kind of tell this is gonna be something. So I'm on the other side of the street. I just kind of stop and wait for a second, and then like the dude like kind of talks to him. He kind of shoves him, and then he just full on swings at him. This dude that he just rolled up to on the street, and then the guy who was leaning on the wall does the most perfect like wraps him up, like cuts a leg out from under him, takes him down to the ground, and just like gives him like 3 really good bashes, and then just kind of stands up, the drunk guy on the ground who just got the shit pummeled out of him, just kind of rolls around a bit, slowly gets back to his feet, claps the dude on the shoulder that just punched him in the face on the ground, and then starts stumbling down the road again.
It's like, nice one, man.
Pretty much. And then the guy on the wall just went back to leaning on the wall again. And
yeah, I mean, Lawrence is right. He just wanted to get beat up.
I think so. And he got handled. He picked the perfect person. The perfect, like that person dispensed exactly the right amount of beatdown.
Yeah, just enough to, send him on his way, but not like leave any permanent injury or something.
Yeah, black eye, broken nose maybe. Yeah. But that dude, I think he probably had no memory of that the next morning. Yeah, Tornado, you're probably right. He probably woke up with a bruised face and like just sore as hell and be like, oh, what a hangover. But yeah, I think that dude might be the drunkest person I've ever met or seen, I think.
That's pretty good.
Aside from myself in the mirror. I think I've gotten more drunk than anyone I've ever known.
I've been trying to think of any examples that don't also involve me getting drunk, and it's very hard. Because I feel like if I'm ever seeing someone that drunk, I'm also drunk, and therefore I'm not the best judge of how drunk they are, right? Or, like some gray area of all that. I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be I was in England visiting some friends, and we were doing like the pub crawl thing that everyone does, and there was like some like chavvy dude who was like stumbling down the street with his bros and like hears my voice and my accent, and he's like, oh, where you from? And he like gets like he just like clings onto me, and he's like, what are you doing out here? And he was like just really on me, and I'm like trying to, I'm also a bit drunk, but like I can tell this is much more energy than I was ready for. And so I'm like trying to, I don't remember how I handled it, to be honest. I think my other friends came to my rescue, and we like, sidestepped him for the most part, or like de-escalated. I think we distracted him with pizza. That was it. One of them had a box of pizza that we were carrying, and we like offered him a pizza, and he's like, oh, and he like went after the pizza, and we like kept going. There's definitely a few of those. Usually when traveling, I feel like I've come across some very drunk people. I think like Prague, I met a couple. like clubs that I'd gone to, but usually not like full on like throw themselves around you without any warning.
There was a good story we had. Actually, Lawrence might remember this. This was we went to Gamescom. I think it was. Was it Gamescom? No. It was EGLX or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, EGX, the Eurogamer.
Yeah. Way back in 2014, we crowdfunded it with Inside Gaming. We went to London, and there was a guy passed out right outside of our hotel room on the stairs. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, there was a guy who like clearly had like tried to get to his hotel room, couldn't, and like
it was the interior stairwell leading up to like various floors of the hotel.
Just close
he
enough.
Was so close. He was
out
so
on
close.
The stairs.
Dude, he
like
was
on
so
the
close.
stairs, not on a landing, on the stairs.
Yeah, right, dead center of the stairs.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of it and then tweeted Andrew WK because I knew he'd love that stuff. And he retweeted me, and I was like, "This is party." I was like, "Yeah, it is. Hell yeah!" So I'm glad he made it inside the hotel. At least he was inside. That's good.
I even remember the tweet. He was like, multi-pressure point application party on the stairs because the dude was passed out on all the steps. Andrew WK is the coolest.
Yeah, he is.
That reminded me, actually, I think Captain Savrige in your chat, Lawrence, just brought up Tokyo on a Saturday evening is prime time for super drunk people. That was actually the drunkest person I ever met. I was in Tokyo for 2 days with Brett Hundley from Couch Shop and who else? God, it was for like a Sekiro thing, and we were in Tokyo for like 2 days. No one ever says Sevrege correctly. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Sverige? Who knows?
Sverige or Sverige?
Sverige. So anyone listening to this podcast can correct us.
Is it? I don't know if it's Sverige or if it's.
We're going in.
Who knows?
Hold on a second.
Okay, all right, you figure that out.
Wait a minute.
We were in
wait a
place
minute
in Tokyo. Wait, it just means Sweden.
Oh, it means Sweden.
Sverige.
Sverige. How does it sound?
I don't know if I can play it through to the Discord column.
You don't have to. Just repeat it to us, Lawrence. What is it?
Sverige.
Sverige.
Sverige. Captain
Sverige.
Captain Sverige.
Sverige. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Anyway, we were in a place in Tokyo called Golden Guy. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was so great. It was basically like this bunch of tiny bars, very like expat feel, that are all run by like one bartender and like seats like 4 people max. So it's like super tiny, like, you know, one-on-one, you get to know a bartender and like kind of meet people that are around you. And there was this like lone French dude that just was wandering up to like random crowds of people and then like talking to them in French. And we were like, look, we don't know what you're saying. And then he would like laugh something off and then go somewhere else. And then he came up to us and just screamed at the top of his lungs like, ah! And like, we're like, oh fuck. And then he just started laughing. He's like, you guys are all right. And then he walked away and like did it to someone else. He was alone. I don't know what he was doing. It was so disorienting. That same place, we were literally just trying to find food at one point. We already had a couple bars and we're like, all right, we just need to get something to eat. And we asked legitimately 3 different people, 2 of which were security guards that were out on the street, where we could find food. And they all pointed the same part of the town, like the same district to the right of us. And they're like, sex? You want sex? Suck? And we're like, no, food. And they're like, suck? Right over there. They kept directing us over to the sex place. It like these people were like, you know, done up in like nice shirts and everything. It like they didn't seem like they were out there like working the streets trying to find more clients. They just kind of like hanging out, and we're like, oh, all right, you know where food is. And he's like, ah, yes, sex. And like point in the same direction.
Were you doing this, Criken, when you put it like, no, food, like you're putting something in your mouth and you're like, oh, sex.
We tried every way of making it non-sexual. We were like, food. And they're like, ah, sex, yes.
Oh, man. I want to go to Tokyo so bad. I've never been. I would love to go.
It was great. I only went for like 2 days, but I've been dying to go back.
Oh, absolutely. Ugh. Lawrence, you've been, right?
Yeah,
I know you.
Yeah. If you're near Golden Guy, that is sort of close. I think that's sort of close to the red light district. So
Yeah.
anyone you talk to on the street is going to be trying to get you into an all-you-can-drink bar or a brothel.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was out drinking late at night, usually there's just like ramen places that were like. How late was it, Criken, when you couldn't find a place to eat?
It wasn't that late. I mean, yeah, it was like probably like 11 to midnight around the time that we were trying to get food.
Oh yeah, there should have been plenty of places. That's interesting. Yeah. What you gonna do? But yeah, I've been specifically to Golden Guy as well, and that place is like it is like it's a fun bar, like alternate reality. What's crazy is when it comes to like Japanese drunkenness, it feels like they cram an entire night of debauchery into about 2.5 hours. And they, from my perception, they don't really even drink that much. It's almost like they have like 2 drinks and then they're like, now I am drunk, and then they act drunk.
Oh.
And then once 10:30 hits, they're like, okay, the weekend fun is over now. I will get on my train and go home. But for about an hour, yeah, you do get to see like Japanese businessmen like getting in slap fights and tickling each other and giggling like kids.
Yeah.
And then it's done. It's like, no, we packed it all up. That's it.
Well, I've learned also that that's like, so part of the culture there is you can't, in the workplace, you can't, talk honestly with your superior or your elder in some ways, right? And you have to, the way that they get a lot of their work done is they go out to the bars afterwards. And like you said, they have 1 drink, and that's therefore an excuse to talk honestly or, earnestly
Right.
or frankly, I guess, with your superiors or your peers. And that's when they actually get like, oh, by the way, your meeting today was shit. Like, here's what we should do. Like, they can't say that during the work hours. They have to say it at a bar, which, I don't know. Seems inefficient to me, but also like kind of fun. I don't know.
It's pretty stratified, yeah.
Yeah.
You are your work person, and then you are your private person, and those cannot overlap. Only when you're out drinking with coworkers.
That is not at all far away from at least American culture, that where generally you do all your bonding outside of work. It's very rare that you're like actually bonding with your coworkers like during a work day. Usually you're going on trips or going out for drinks or for dinner or whatever else, and then everybody has a couple of drinks, and all of a sudden you're all talking about like the serious shit. So it's not necessarily delineated that way here. It just happens. Because I mean, like, I think back to all the times I bonded with coworkers, and it was always over like really, really long, hard work days that were out of the ordinary, or it was when we would all go out and get drunk. That's just how it worked. And I think it's probably the same for everything, for friends or a love relationship or whatever. I feel like you're going to do that bonding around bad times or around times where things are different rather than just the same old. So, yeah, I don't know. Sounds familiar to a culture that I've been part of for a long time. So, but, oh, hey, speaking of this whole thing, this whole podcast about being drunk and, well, the NSFW games on Steam is brought to you by Nordvpn. If you go to nordvpn.com/talk2internet, right now you can get a 2-year plan plus 4 months free for $3.18 a month. It's $89 for the first 2 years, 73% off. Again, it's a 2-year plan, $3.18 a month. And if you don't know what a VPN is, or you're sort of on the fence about trying to get a VPN, basically what a VPN does is it protects your connection. It routes your internet connection through other servers around the world, so you're doing more anonymous browsing than if you were just browsing straight from your IP at home through your cable internet or whatever other ISP you're using. NordVPN's super easy to use. You just install it. It's literally a one-click thing. You click it, you click the power button, it turns on. It routes your connection up to 5,200 servers in 59 countries. You can find a server near you if you want it to be a faster speed, or again, in a faraway location if you want more content. Because sometimes you can watch like region-locked stuff on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, and if you route your connection through a server out in the UK, then you could watch Netflix UK. Nordvpn is definitely one of the fastest VPNs out there. They use a bunch of different technology to actually make it fast. It's called NordLynx. It's a next generation VPN tunneling solution based on the WireGuard protocol. Provides an extremely fast VPN connection. You can use it on 6 devices, every major platform: Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, Linux, Android TV, all other stuff. There's an automatic kill switch, so if the VPN connection accidentally drops, it blocks the device from accessing the web. It's NordVPN's incredibly simple to use. That's one of the things that I really enjoyed about it when I installed it and tried it. It's just a one click on, very simple. Like I was talking about before, region locked games and other content you can watch. Very, very simple to do. So again, nordvpn.com/talk2internet for the $3.18 a month plan. It's a 2-year plan. You save 73%. You get 4 months free. The price has actually gone down since we talked about this a month ago. And NordVPN sponsors this podcast, so they make this podcast possible. So feel free to use the command NordVPN in my chat. Lawrence, what's the command in your chat?
It's just Nord.
Nord. Okay. Exclamation point. Nord in Lawrence's chat. If you want to click that link, or you can use the coupon code TALK2INTERNET on NordVPN.com. So thanks again, NordVPN, for sponsoring Talk to the Internet.
Thank you, Nord.
Thank you, as always.
It's a fun word.
As always. It is a fun word.
Did you go with the Stormcloaks in Skyrim?
Guess what, Lawrence? I didn't pick anybody.
Ooh.
I didn't pick a vampire. I didn't pick a werewolf. I didn't pick a Stormcloak. I didn't pick the Thieves Guild.
Wait, what did you do all day then?
What do you mean what I do all day? I walked around, killed dragons, dog.
What do you do all day? All the side quests. You got to pick someone.
So the goal of my 24-hour stream was to get through the main quest line. So beat the game, basically. And I got through the main quest line. Yeah, no, I did it.
I thought you had to pick somebody to beat the main story. Do you not?
I did not.
Oh,
no.
Never mind.
It was really interesting because a lot of people that were watching, there's a specific cinematic. I mean, spoilers, whatever. It's 10 years old, but specific cinematic where you're negotiating a treaty between the Stormcloaks and I think it's the Empire. Is it the Empire? Is that right? I was neutral. So they would look at me as like the Dragonborn and be like, Dragonborn, what do you think? And I'd be like, I side with the Stormcloaks on this one. I'd be like, I side with the Empire on this one. A lot of people in my chat were like, we've never seen this because we picked one or the other.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting because people kept saying, you have to pick one. And I didn't have to pick one. I don't know if Lawrence, have you ever finished the main quest line?
No. I learned some dragon shouts. I was playing, I don't know, there was some moment where I did a quest, and in virtue of doing that quest, it made an entire town like aggro against me, and I had like 4 quests to turn in that town. And I think that was actually the last time I was like, okay, I'm done with Skyrim, because like it didn't, I don't know, it didn't warn me, and also I didn't care about the story. I mean, the setting of like a freshly conquered nation is a really interesting one. Of like, well, do you try to keep your old culture and all that alive? Do you try to find a way to merge that, or do you just give it up? You're like, well, these are the changing of the tides. One flag for another. I'm still going to live my life here. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting questions there. I think Witcher 3 also kind of bounced off a lot of that stuff. So I was interested in the concepts of it, but the execution didn't really grab me. And then there were enough quests that just full on bugged out, or I was like, okay. I can't even play in the way kind of like Criken, like you were saying. I was trying to play in my way. I wanted to do this like Conan the Barbarian sort of thing. I guess Bruce, kind of like what you're talking about, is somebody who's just sort of outside the system, solving problems with their own brand of know-how and low IQ. But no, it didn't work out that way. The game had other plans, and a lot of bugs and stuff basically kept me from finishing a bunch of quests, and I was just like, I'm not invested enough to like reload a save from 4 hours ago to try to navigate around all that. How was the story? Did you like it?
I mean, I thought it was fun. Yeah, it was. It gets really Norse at the end, like extremely Norse. Again, spoilers, but you like basically you go to I don't think they call it Valhalla, but fuck, what's the name of it? They basically go to like an after,
Sovngarde.
That's what it is, yeah. And you arrive, and all the other people that fought off Alduin are there because they were dead, but now you fight alongside their spirits as a spirit to fight Alduin in, what was it, Sovngarde, you say? Sovngarde, yeah. And it was cool. It was like it felt very much like Thor, like the movie Thor, where like, because like all the the sky is like a really cool aurora borealis, and it's very, very Norse. Reminds me a lot of a more aggressive God of War type of thing. But it's cool. It was fun. It was, again, nobody ever did that, what I did. I just wanted to try it. I was just excited to get through the main quest line, so I did. But
why don't we like Alduin? Why is Alduin bad?
Alduin,
he's the hungry dragon.
Oh yeah, he's the dragon that like he's always killing people and bringing down nations and stuff, and like he gets teleported through time with the Elder Scroll, and because that was the only way they couldn't kill him. They banished him, and they had to banish him with an Elder Scroll, and they basically banished him like through time, and then
wait, hold on.
Go ahead, please.
Forward or backward?
I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember.
I never got that far. I did I did like 3 of the main quests. Yeah. I got my first dragon shout, and I'm like, all right, I get it. And I went off and became a fucking vampire, thief, like assassin, everything else. So
to me, it felt like they had banished him to like a parallel universe, sort of, and like with the Elder Scroll.
They banished him forward to your time. Wait, so they're literally like, here's our current problem. We're gonna put him.
That's
over
right.
there.
Yeah. No,
that's
you're right.
a problem for future generations.
They'll have better swords and magic then. They'll have machine guns.
That is exactly correct. Yeah, because like I remember in the story they say that they're like, why would you do this? Why would you give this problem to us? And that's what happened. So then you end up fighting alongside the ghosts of the people that died in the past to Alduin, and you banish Alduin forever. You kill him, I think, maybe.
It's forever, like another 100 years till Skyrim 3?
I don't know.
Or,
yeah, until he comes back to Skyrim 2.
Skyrim 3.
I'm sure he's going to come back.
They skip the whole Skyrim, but he'll be back for the 3rd
one. Yeah, but it's fun. It was the voice acting is kind of ridiculous and hilarious, and like
I love the voice acting. I know everyone's like, there's only like 5 voice actors. I love it that way. I want to hear the same. I mean, Oblivion's even worse. Oblivion, I think we talked about this like, I don't know, 30 podcasts ago, but I went diving through all the Oblivion voice lines, there are legitimately like 4 or 5 voice actors for the entire game, and there's a folder of like 4,000 voice lines, and you can just listen through all of them, and it's just the same tone for every single one, because they just brought in a voice actor and were like, all right, here's all the lines for today, and they just read them. They have no idea who's talking, what the state is of emotion, so like most of them are just like super, dryly delivered, and it's just so fucking funny. I love pouring through those.
Yeah, it's all really like, again, I don't know how they do it. It's this really derpy magic where it looks so stupid and sounds so stupid, but you don't care. You're just sort of like, whatever, like you see this one lady, she's like, she's talking to one of the other characters, and she's like, we need to kill Alduin, and then Alduin lands, and she's like, let's go! And she just screams completely out of, not at all tonally with the rest of the scene. And then she stabs him and dies, and you're like, "What the fuck just happened?"
I want to go watch that clip. That sounds amazing.
It's so weird. It's like, and again, this kind of stuff happens throughout the entire game, but it's funny. I mean, like, and it's funny in the right way, because the rest of the game is all derpy too. So like, you saw your companion get launched into space by a giant, and you're jumping up a hill with a horse and shit like that. So it's like it all looks stupid. So when that stuff happens is stupid, like you're not attached to the characters. You just think it's fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just love the stealth mechanics of these worlds.
Oh my gosh,
must have been the wind whenever you like do anything is so. it never gets old for me. It's really. I mean, I don't know what sort of character you played, if it was like stealthy or otherwise, but
No, I played a mage all the way through. Dark elf mage. I could have been stealthy, but I wasn't. And basically, my chat was begging me to try the basket on the head thing.
Yep.
So I did that, and for sure it worked. You just put a basket on their head, and then you steal their shit. And again, it's just so stupid that like I was like, well, yeah, this is fun. Like, I'm glad that it feels like a video game to me, where I'm not like having to figure out all their cones of vision and be like, oh, like grab this and like have to restart my save because I accidentally knocked over a bucket or something. It's like, who cares? So I don't know. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. But.
Yeah, I'm curious if I mean some mentions make it sound like it's not quite the case, but I am curious if that style of game is going to hit like it used to. Because it doesn't seem like people have much of an appetite for the like ethereal kind of mechanic light dick around sandbox experiences as much as they used to. It's still there for sure, but like I guess I look at things like Fallout 4 kind of seemed to fall off a little bit. Sales certainly implied that it fell off a bit. Assassin's Creed, like, it is kind of as far as I can tell, it is the modern and biggest version of that. And I guess they just announced that they're actually going to take that into a service product, which makes a lot of sense, but it's still pretty crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I guess Breath of the Wild 2 isn't quite like that. It's a little more.
That's more. I think you're more on rails there.
Like Borderlands 3 was kind of the last game like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think people just kind of. I think and I saw this happen with like first-person shooters as well. Is that once a certain type of game is on the market long enough and people play it enough, they get good at it, and then they start gaining tolerance and ability for more complicated versions of that product. So I feel like the open world games that are coming are probably going to trend more towards like Breath of the Wild style, as opposed to like Skyrim style. But Skyrim type games are fantastic because of it's almost not for the game. It's not even for me to play it. It's to see what other people do with it and watch them make fun of YouTube videos and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Baldur's Gate 3 for that reason. I don't think it quite has the same derp factor, but it's going to be really fun to see what people do with it.
Yeah,
it was pretty. It was pretty derpy but I played it right when it first came out to early access. I think Criken probably played it more than I did. So, but it was. I thought it was derpy in a good way. Like it was like D&D where you could do anything you wanted. Basically, it was like if there was a rock that was loose, you could pick up that rock, but you never would have known that otherwise if chat hadn't mentioned it or thought about it. And then even then, like your character's model would glitch all the way across the whole screen. And again, early access. But
yeah, have you guys ever seen Solasta? It's a new game that's I don't know if it's still in early access or not. I think it is. It's basically Baldur's Gate's version of D&D 5th edition has like a lot of liberties that they've taken for the studio's own like creative input, and is like I think better for it in a lot of ways. For like it's basically how to make 5th edition a gamified new system. But Solasta is like, okay, we're just gonna take everything that 5th edition D&D does and then make it like as earnestly as possible translate it into a video game. And it's really goofy in how like janky it can be, but also how like genuine it is. It feels like a love letter to D&D, like tabletop RPGs, but it also feels like just as dumb as it would be if I was around a table with a DM and we're just like screwing with them the entire time. So I don't know. It's if you want like a really true to real life tabletop experience, Solasta I've enjoyed playing so far. But they've also got like 3 voice actors. So I currently have a party of all dwarves, all with the same voice. And so whenever you're in like a group conversation, they all like pipe up and say one thing, but they all sound the same and look almost identical. So it just keeps pinging around to different dwarves being like, oh, I don't think we should do that. And they're like, yeah, we should do that. And the other one's like, good point. You
don't know who's talking.
Yeah,
like,
you never know who's talking. And they're, for whatever reason, they didn't build enough time in like the pausing between people's dialogues. Like there's no natural pauses of people like talking, so it just keeps cutting to each person being like, yeah, no, I don't think that's a good idea. That's a great idea. And like just it's constantly cutting between everyone. It's pretty funny. It's definitely got that like Skyrim jank.
It's such a man. I always go back and forth with what I guess you're talking about, Criken, and also Lawrence. I just don't, because I played Last of Us 2, played Last of Us as well, and I like those are meant to be really heavy, serious games with a very directed narrative, very purposeful, deliberate narrative, and it doesn't get me. Like I know that it's actually written very well, it's acted very well, it's emotion. I mean, the game itself is honestly, it truly is a work of art. I just didn't like it, and to me, maybe it's because it's a video game, and so like when video game things happen in that video game, it immediately pulls me out of that story right away, and then I go like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm playing a video game. So then it takes me away from the immersion. Whereas Skyrim knows it's a video game. It knows that dumb things are going to happen. So then when it throws a story at you, it's like, who cares? Whatever. You know, like I could take it seriously or not. It's up to me. And I'm constantly waffling between, because it's so hard to find that perfect mix. And I think God of War did it best for me. The most recent God of War, where the story really resonated with me. It's a fantastic story, but also it's a video game, and you realize it's a video game. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but halfway through the game, it turns into a different game, and you're like, whoa, that's cool. Like that's right. It knows it's a video game. So it's a really interesting dichotomy for me that I have not yet resolved for myself. I couldn't tell you how many video games have stories that are super. I could count on one hand how many games I actually like the story for, which it's, you know, Half-Life Alyx, Half-Life 1 and 2, God of War, most recently Resident Evil Village. I thought the story was really fun and stupid, but also a video game and cool. Like I was, you know, like I was kind of into it. But there are not many other video games that I love for the story. And I noticed that when they really ham-fist it and they go, or not ham-fist, when they really go hard on like, this is going to be a serious narrative and you're going to have to think about it, then I'm like, but also Joel just fell on a ladder for 10 seconds and died. Like what? So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, Bruce, I would venture that one of the contributing reasons that most video game stories don't grab you is because most video games are poorly written.
I would agree. Yeah.
And when they are well written, they're typically written for a broad audience. So you take something like, you know, Mass Effect, something that people by and large agree has good writing. It's good, but it's not challenging or particularly nuanced. The characters are all pretty contained and packaged and presentable. It's a hero's story with an uncomplicated main character with a very basic set of motivations. It's, you know, it's you can wrap your head around it. It's gettable.
Yeah.
Some other things I mean, everyone throws around Disco Elysium as having like actual adult writing, which I would agree with. It has actual characters that are pretty complicated. It has themes that are hard to figure out. It gives you things to think about when you're not playing the game, like a well-written story can. My favorite thing lately, I mean, I think there are games like, and I was just watching a video of this, but like the Outer Wilds it has like a multitude of stories. It exists on multiple layers. There's the story of the world that you find out just by reading lore and text. There's your story as a player, which interacts with that. And then there's like the themes and meaning of the game that don't really hit in hard until the ending. And to me, a game like that is like, it's perfect. It's got the text on the page, but that reinforces the actions that you take in the game. The actions that you take in the game don't necessarily violate the logic of the existing story, which is all about spaceflight and exploration. And then at the end, you get a grand scene that ties all of those things together in addition to the actions you've taken as a player to not only make your story important, but have that also be reflected in the story of the world.
Yeah.
That's the pinnacle. That's the number one tippity top. And I would say even things like Last of Us Part 2 don't even do that. Sort of. I mean,
you're talking about Outer Wilds, right? Sorry, I missed
Outer Wilds.
Yeah, Outer Wilds. Yeah.
That was the best story in a video game I've ever heard.
Ah, man, I got to play it. I only played a few hours. I never sat down. I know you guys rave about it, so I got to play it.
It's definitely one of those games where you'll get more out of it the more you put into it, but it's definitely, it doesn't hold your hand, and that's like part of the appeal of it, I think, is that it's all open world from the beginning, and there's like no direct like quest objective, go here. It's like literally your own curiosity, and then you put it together the pieces of a puzzle, and then once you feel like you get it, a new piece will arrive, and you're like, wait a minute, I was close, but actually because of this, and you kind of evaluate your hypothesis. It feels very much like a scientific method sort of game, but the ending makes it all worth it. So
they're really good. Oh, sorry, Lawrence. Go ahead.
I don't want to distract because this might be another topic, but in terms of like storytelling in games, I've been playing Cruelty Squad, and that's really something.
What was that?
It is basically like it is visually violent. It is not good to look at on purpose. It looks like like shitty MySpace pages threw up all over it.
All right.
Yeah. If you watch the loop, so you've been fired from your job, but then somebody re-enrolled you in Cruelty Squad, which is essentially assassination by app, and then you get contracted by like the dark rich cabal that runs the world to go around and assassinate various figures. The assassinations take place in Hotline Miami Ugly is a really good way to describe it. But all the levels are these like, it is super basic sandbox, but it is still kind of sandbox. You're in like this giant level that's sort of this surrealist version of commercial areas, a neighborhood, a mall or something like that. And you have to sneak in and kill like a CEO of a company that is has discovered ways to like purify water, and they're like, we got to kill him because we're selling water. It's that sort of thing. But there's a whole ton of like, the level design is what really makes it an incredible experience, because you have to shoot these people, but the levels are really wide and big and have like secret passages everywhere. So it's got that Deus Ex feel of having to stack up boxes to get an event, to get like the sniper angle on somebody, so you can just shoot them and leave. But there's also a subtext in there that's deeply anti-capitalist. And the way that like, there's also a stock market in the game, and I haven't played it enough to figure out what that is, but you can buy and sell stocks as you're playing. And I assume that's going to factor into like the people you choose to kill. So you can like, I don't know, buy stock in a competitive pizza place and then go in and just shoot down an entire restaurant or something like that. So like in the way that like the game tasks you with becoming a soulless corporate automaton that murders for money, the mechanics also encourage you to become that. And along the way, I think the music and the art design and the game design really invites you to question some things, and it challenges some of your concepts about work and capitalism and the value of human life and all that stuff. And it really does do a good job, I think, of making you feel as devalued and unimportant as corporations see you, or as we think corporations
devalue me. Game, I'm ready. I'm gonna get it. You sold me.
That sounds super interesting. Lawrence, does it is there a way to play the game where you can play it so you don't have to go along with those mechanics and feel like you're playing a good character, in quotation marks?
Well,
or do you have to play it bad? You have to kill people. You have to.
I think the point is being dragged through the inescapable system, right? I don't know if you
is that right? I mean, that's what it sounds like, Lawrence. It sounds like you have to go through it.
I mean, there might be. I actually am expecting the game to sort of blossom out into some other meanings and play styles eventually. But right now, and like I've only played the first 4 or 5 levels. To finish the level, you do have to kill who they tell you to, and then make it to an exit. You don't have to kill anyone else, and the ending screen will list civilian casualties. So I do try to not murder everyone, but there is something kind of adorable about, I don't know, I feel like this bites off a whole other topic, but like there's something cute about video game NPCs. I mean, you guys were talking about NPCs in Skyrim and in RPGs and stuff like that. There's something adorable about like just little guys that like operate very basic behaviors and stuff like that.
Yes, they have a very simple life. They just, they know what they like, and they try to do that best they can. And if you shoot their legs, and they're like, well, it's hard for me to do this thing I like now, but I'm still going to try. And then you're like, that's actually, so I'm going to be playing Kenshi again tonight. I think I've talked about Kenshi on this before too, but you in Kenshi can set AI parameters for your squad mates. So eventually get to a point where you have so many people on your team that you can't actually manage them all. So the game gives you this like very simple logic system for them that allows them to follow this kind of loop that you set for them. So for example, you can set the loop that, all right, objective number 1 is they want to bring iron ore to a box. That's what they want. And that's like, given the choice of anything in the world, this is what this character will always do. If he has iron ore, he's going to put it in this box. Objective 2 is, I love mining iron ore. If I don't already have iron ore, I freaking love getting a singular iron ore, and then I get knocked up to my first favorite thing in the world, which is putting this iron ore in that box. And then that's their life. You set them on this loop and you let them go, and they will go forever. You can even like remove their legs in Kenshi, and they will literally crawl their way to the ore, hit it once, get one thing, and then crawl their way back to the box and put it in. So it's a very fun game to like slowly optimize your squad and give them, like you said, these like really cute little personality objectives, you know.
That's super fun. That sounds really fun.
I always love that about insects. Like stupid little insects that just do one thing over and over again.
Yep.
Like seeing a bee just like kind of bonk into a wall over and over again. I'm like, oh, you little guy. You just.
That's why they're called drones, because that's all they do. We have a beehive outside of our house. And we get so many bees that die on our doorstep, because that's what they're supposed to do. That's literally what they're supposed to do. Once they've done their job, they go and die. So they do it as long as they can, which is get pollen, and then once they're done, they like fly somewhere and die, and they always die on our doorstep. And it's funny because like Autumn always sees them. She's always like, she hates bees, but at the same time she's always like, oh man, like, oh, that sucks that they're dead. And I'm like, no, they did their job. They fulfilled their task. Like, and now they are done. I think there's something nice to that they did the one thing that they could for as long as they could, and now they're dead.
Now they can rest.
Yeah, now they can rest. Exactly. Lawrence, back to your point about Cruelty Squad, because I wanted to talk about it. This might just be it's actually not it is my own bias, where I had this major problem with Last of Us, where the game would pretend to give you choice and be like, oh yeah, like, you know, maybe you choose to not kill this one person, maybe you choose to blah blah blah, but then honestly you have to kill everybody, and you got to kill the dogs, and like you got all I hated that. I couldn't stand it, because the game pretended to give you choice, but in reality you really had to do some terrible things. And eventually I was just down the path of, because like it was like, see what happens when you do bad things, this is what happens. And I was like, no, I don't see what happens, the game forced me to do it. Like, I don't want to do that.
No, I entirely agree.
So I don't know if Cruelty Squad is like that.
No,
it sounds like
it's much more
you enter
self-aware.
into that agreement. But okay, all right.
The thing that's super frustrating about Last of Us Part 2, and you know, I've got all kinds of stuff banked up on it, so I'll try to keep it short. But it doesn't bug me that the game doesn't afford you choice. I think it's okay to take away player choice sometimes, especially if you want to make a point. The problem with Last of Us Part 2 is that all of the story's themes were about trying to choose to do something different, about being locked in a cycle of violence. One of the characters has chosen to escape that cycle, and another character is unable to. Awesome setup, totally rad setup. The problem is the story. Excuse me. Okay, I still got some drainage. Anyway, the story revolves around those themes as well, but almost in a like just thoroughly dismissive way, because in a game, in a medium that is apparently about choice and interactivity, not only does it not give you a choice about the story, which I think is okay, but also the themes don't even really address that, because the character that you really want to make a choice or escape from a cycle doesn't, and then the character that like is trying to doesn't have any satisfactory resolution there either, because she's not the lead. Or at least maybe that was the trick and why they wouldn't let reviewers talk about the second half. I don't know. It seems like in an effort to be clever, it actually managed to not actually cinch all those themes together at the end. It was really close, but it actually, like, to me at least, whiffed the biggest landing it should have had. Which if it had a braver ending, if it showed anything like, no spoilers or anything, but if it showed anything happening to Ellie aside from her just wandering off into the forest, then at least there would have been I feel like a little more creative intent behind it. But what I read into it was, we're going to do the opposite of what most games do, which I think there's validity to that. But instead of like providing an ending that actually provides commentary or interest on those themes and discussions that we've started, we're instead going to keep it as loose and fluffy as possible so that people can imagine a happy ending if they want to, and so we can leave it open to a third game, which to me is it's just totally anathema to the artistic intent that I read in the rest of that game.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, I was frustrated because I saw a fair amount going on there, and I think specifically I saw the willingness to create a game that's not just, a dopamine releaser, something that would actually maybe challenge players or force them to think about things that they wouldn't choose to think about normally, like things that art do, invite you to question things about your life or challenge your beliefs. But ultimately, those challenges in the end, to me at least, didn't land anywhere meaningful. It was just, for me, and I'm going to have to keep disclosing that because I do place it in the realm of art, which means it's thoroughly reliant on the spectator being there. But for me, it just seemed like, I don't know.
Lawrence, I'm with you. I don't like dunking on this game because I think it's actually truly a work of art. Like, I think they did such a fantastic job. They clearly put so much time and effort into it. I just thought they whiffed the plot, like just hardcore, and maybe because for lots of other reasons that, who knows what. But it just wasn't my thing, and that's okay. That's all right. I think that there are lots of other examples of a story that can teach you that lesson they were trying to teach you, but much better. Maybe not in a video game format. But I had this conversation with my chat a few days ago about like anime, because people would talk about like, why is there so many anime filler episodes? It's like, that's character development. I was like, what? No. Hey, come on, you've seen a movie that's 2 hours, has fantastic character development, and it was only 2 hours. I didn't have to watch 4 hours of 20-minute episodes to get the same character development. So it's like there are better examples of it in a video game, though. In the video game medium, I don't know. I'm not sure that there is. For the I guess the moral of the story in Last of Us Part 2. I'm not sure. I don't know. That's just the way I was thinking about it.
I think Abby shows a lot of character development over the course of the game. I think Ellie is a fascinating character. Like, that's the other thing too, and like characters developing and going through an arc. Those are like part of what are typically more packaged stories. They're ones we like to hear, not necessarily ones that are maybe more gritty, realistic, or human. So I'm okay with like characters not going through an arc or ending a narrative in a better state than they started it. But like the story has those beats, but uses them in strange ways. Bruce, I've thought about it a lot. I didn't need the game to have a happy ending. I just needed the game to have an ending that at least put a capstone on the themes they were putting in front of me.
Correct.
And it didn't. To me, like that was and I hate to say this because I want to leave room for me just not understanding what they were going for. But to me, it does kind of read as cowardice of like, you built up all these things and all these heavy ideas, and you drove it to a point that was going to like make a statement about all the themes and questions you've asked, and then you bailed out of it. The ending was a total bailout for me.
Criken, I don't think you played it, right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's kind of an interest. I don't know. It's like the game's it's like 25 hours long. It's really long.
So it turns me off usually. I'm not like...
Yeah, it's very, very long. Last of Us Part 1 is not. I actually think Part 1 you could get through, and it has whether or not you like the ending, has a much more self-contained story that I think is probably worth playing. Part 2, woof.
Yeah, and Part 1, it bit off uncomfortable topics. It didn't have a crowd pleaser of an ending, but I think... And that's, I think, another example of a game where the main character ends not necessarily better than where they started, but they did go through an arc, and it was a believable and human arc. So it wasn't necessarily the happiest ending, but the character decisions made sense, and to that degree, I actually really like the game. But yeah, Captain is correct. Last of Us 1 is much less fun to actually play. That's what sucks. Last of Us 2 is a great video game most of the time, and then there's a story, which doesn't pair well with it, I don't think. But
No,
it's frustrating too because every single person that contributed to that game did an amazing job. The tech,
absolutely,
like the tech is outrageous. When you're playing
Absolutely.
against humans, the sandbox stuff there is great. I don't know, Criken, do you have any interest in games like that? Games that might challenge you? Narratively speaking.
I think I like games that have, I mean, like the one that you're describing, like it has a pretty clear something to say, right? And then the whole game is set up to deliver on this message. I'm interested in those, especially if the gameplay is still fun and it like marries the gameplay with the message. I think if I'm participating and like discovering the point of the game from playing it and not just having it handed to me in cutscenes or dialogue, then I'm a lot more likely to like the game. I think the problem I've had with games like The Last of Us, or that have made me less likely to just up and play them, is it feels like from a distance it's I mean, maybe the first one's more like this, like what I'm describing, and like the kind of bleak nature of the world is reinforced through the gameplay, and therefore it marries with the cutscenes and the story a bit better. But it just seems it's like really dense, and
it is.
You have to get through all of it to really appreciate it. And I don't want to have to finish a game to be happy that I played it. If that makes sense.
You bring up a fantastic point, and I've started doing this because people. This is a number one excuse that I see so often, which is you didn't watch enough of it or you didn't play enough of it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do all of it. So I do. And I'm not doing it like because I'm trying to spite you, or I'm not doing it because I'm not hate watching it. I truly want the thing to get better. So like with the same with, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or other anime that I've watched where people are like, no, it gets better. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep watching it. And I did the same with Last of Us Part 2. Like halfway through that game, I was like, no, absolutely not. No. And they're like, no, keep playing it. Like, you got it. So I did. And I truly always, I go into most content with the same, actually no, I go into all content with the same attitude, which is I want it to be great. I want it to be something that makes me think. I want it to be something that I have a transcendent experience. And obviously it doesn't happen 90% of the time. It's just kind of fun to, play or watch or whatever. But I really truly am looking for that experience with everything that I do. So when I'm finishing Last of Us Part 2, or if I'm trying to finish JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, whatever, I really want the thing to get better. I want it to all sort of tie itself up. And so when it doesn't, I can at least say I watched all of it and got through it and criticize it. Because I've been thinking about, currently I'm trying to finish Hunter x Hunter, which is, I think it's like 150 episodes long or so, and I'm at 135. And I have been watching every episode. I'm just about to sit down, because usually it's my way of sort of decompressing at the end of the day is watching television. But I'm about to sit down and get a notepad and write down why every single episode is garbage. Like, I'm like, this is terrible. This is bad. Like, oh, there's this one little thing. This is kind of cool. But the rest of it, holy balls. And like, I'll get one out of every 6 episodes that's like, this is cool. The other 5 episodes are just like, fuck me. This is terrible.
But like, do you keep going in that situation?
I do.
Bringing you more pain than happiness?
It's not that it's bringing more pain. Actually, I'll also look at content in a weird way, and I have ever since I was a kid. I'm learning. So I'm learning why to me it is bad or why to me it is good. I'm not saying why content is bad or good objectively. I'm just saying for me, I'm learning what makes good or bad content. So when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I think I know why this is bad. Why a lot of people wouldn't like watching this. And I should be able to then recreate it in other content, or explain myself and my opinion better having watched that content and learning about it. Also, there's times that I've done this where I've watched something that I didn't like initially, and then I thought back to it a few years later and went, oh, that was cool. I actually really liked that. You know what? The more I think about it, the more I like it. That's very rare. That's very, very rare for me. But this is just something that I've been doing. I don't want to say the last 5 years or so, where I have heard I'm pretty sure it's a loud vocal minority saying that something is good. And I'm like, you got it. Let's go do it. Let's go watch it or play it. And then come back, and then I'm actually educated about why it's bad. I could be doing an episode by episode recap. So be happy, internet, that I'm not doing that. I'm not shitting on Hunter x Hunter or JoJo every episode. But yeah, also again, they're if you guys like it, love it. I want you to go out and love it. Have a great time. Don't let me take that away from you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, Criken, you've mentioned in the past that you have natural immunity to the opinions of others.
Have I?
Yeah. Well, I guess mainly in regards to caring about reception of media and stuff like that. Sorry. Good God. I've been hacking up stuff all week. I need to do it again. I don't know. Was there ever a time where was there ever a time that bothered you, where there was something you really cared about and somebody's just like, oh, that's trash, and it got under your skin? Or have you just been from birth just doing your own thing and not caring about other people's takes?
I think if it's something that I see a lot of value in, or I respect as a creative product, and someone writes it off without hearing the things that I like about it, then that usually rubs me the wrong way. More so on the person, and if they're unwilling to grant any sort of leniency on someone liking something for a different reason than they know, then to me that I take that pretty seriously as a depiction of their character, I guess, right? If they're unwilling to see something from someone else's shoes and they're like, nope, it's bad, nope, it's bad, nope, it's bad, then I don't really give them the time of day. So I guess that's my way of dealing with it. I don't really think about it as a thing I'm personally insecure about. I'd more think of it as a thing they're insecure about.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Do you ever, because Bruce, I know you've been in this position where you'll put out an opinion on something, and then people will just dog you for it.
Oh, absolutely.
So Criken, I'm curious. Do you run into that situation, or do you just not really put your takes out about pop culture or media that much?
Yeah, I guess I genuinely don't share my takes on media all that much. In the case of, I guess here's a fun example was I remember sitting down with Bruce, I think it was on a podcast with you guys about the last Game of Thrones episode.
Oh yeah, it's Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
You were on that. And you were on that podcast, yeah.
Although we were diametrically opposed in our opinions, it was interesting to hear what about it he enjoyed. And I think I left feeling a little more wise about that, a little more forgiving, just hearing from someone else, even if it didn't change my opinions, but it gave me a new perspective that I could appreciate. But I guess, yeah, when I'm representing myself in my own content, I usually don't harp too much on stuff that I either love or hate, unless I'm actively playing or watching a thing that I really like, and then I'll talk about the things that I like about it. But yeah, I generally don't I think force my opinions down anyone's throats.
It's interesting to hear people talk about why they like something or why they don't like it. I just need someone to explain why. That's it. Not oh, it gets better, or oh no, it's great, you're wrong. No, I want to know why. You tell me why it's good. Because then maybe I can hear different perspectives. I'm definitely you two. I've talked to a number of times about different things, and I've heard your opinions. You've elaborated on them very well, and I've been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I get that. I can see why you thought that. I just don't get that from the. There's no nuance on the internet, as we all know. So
that's really interesting. What happens though if you talk to somebody and you hear them out about it, and in your heart of hearts, the realization you come to is, oh, you like this because you have no taste. What do you do?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. That
is a great question.
That to me, I try to avoid
Lawrence,
those sorts of things.
I'm gonna say that. Oh, gosh, man, if they say that, that's just an insult.
It is.
Really.
So it's a shitty thing to say.
Yeah. No, that's just an insult. Because truthfully, like, if somebody said, like, to me, because I've had people say this to me where they're like, this is something you would like, so I know why you like it. That's okay. As long as they're not talking down to me, I'm fine with that. Because, yeah, truthfully, I definitely gravitate toward a specific sort of content. I know I do. But if somebody's like, you have no taste, or you are uneducated, no, they're just insulting you. That's just an insult.
Oh man, yeah. I try not to pass that sort of judgment on someone either, if I can help it. If it's like really clear that whatever has gone on in their life or their upbringing or whatever that brings them to a place where they love this specific media or IP or something that I can't stand and that we're never gonna see eye to eye on it, then I just like try to separate myself from the equation and be like, you know what? They are, for whatever reason, their life has primed them to love this, and I'm never going to see eye to eye. That's okay. Like, I'll walk away from it. Does it mean they have bad taste? From my perspective, yes. But I also don't know what they've, like, living a life in their shoes, that's probably, there's a reason for that, that they love that sort of thing. So I try not to put too much stock into it, I guess. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, ask them to, I guess, design a show for me or, ask their opinion when I'm looking for the next thing to watch. I'll just note in my head, I don't I don't like agree with their opinion, right? And then I'll just like quietly avoid it in the future.
That's Criken, it's really interesting you say that, because I disagree wholeheartedly all the way around.
Okay,
I'll tell you why. This has taken me time though, because I used to think the same thing. I used to think like people have bad taste, or people don't like. I don't want to hear what somebody has to say about it because like I know they're gonna like it, even though I know it's bad. For some reason, as I've gotten older, I've started wanting to hear why something is good, so that I can go with that perspective and try and watch it with that perspective. So
like
rather than thinking
everything sort of thing.
Well, that, but also just maybe then I'll get into it, and maybe because who the hell doesn't want more things to like? So for me, I'm like, I would much rather go and check this out, and then I have this perspective of like, oh, they gave me this really interesting perspective that I'd never thought about before, and now I'm watching it with completely different eyes. So, I didn't. This is something I've learned, Criken. This isn't something that I'm not saying that what you said was bad or whatever. It's just more of like I just over time I've gotten to a point where now I just want to see. That's all. That's it.
Do you feel like you're overloaded though with the amount of stuff out there is to see? Because I think that is what I'm struck by, is if I were to take everyone's personal recommendations to heart and make time for them, then it would be overwhelming. So I have to kind of pick and choose who.
No, that's valid.
Who to listen to.
Yeah, that's totally valid. I don't. I want to get to everything. So like when somebody tells me like there's a movie called Hell or High Water that came out a few years ago, and my best friend Dan was like, you got to watch this movie. It's so fucking good. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go watch it. And I never watched it. And I still want to watch it. It's still on my list, but I just got to get to it. So I don't mind, thinking, all right, well, I'm going to get to it eventually. Because I probably will. I just don't, who knows when. So that's all. That's how I think about it. I like to hear the other side, because then maybe I'll have a different set of eyes to watch something.
There's another
Lawrence.
What, in regards to people's opinions, or I don't know, is there an angle of that? That's a pretty broad topic. I don't know, I like video games. And I don't know. So when it comes to media, I found that like when we were working at Rooster Teeth, I found that a lot of the media I was choosing to ingest was either because it was for content, just so I'd have something to talk about, or for personal relationships. So I would have like media to discuss with friends and coworkers. And at a certain point I realized like all of this media that I'm taking in, none of it is really all that interesting. It's, you know, it's all variations on a theme, which is it's fine, and I want to be careful about this because I don't want to sound as pretentious as I could or have. But you know, when it comes to, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. So to some degree, being internet talking heads, our previous jobs at least, we're kind of about, you know, creating lighthearted discussion, and a lot of that is centered around pop media, you know, water cooler talk or whatever. And it reminded me of just like when I was growing up in Texas and would go to work, if I didn't watch a football game, I'd have nothing to talk to people about. And I swear to God, 70% of the people that watched football only did it so they had things to talk to people about.
Yeah.
And I remember even back then, and you know, that's not the worst way to live, watching a football game, just to hang out with, or just to have something to connect with people about. But part of me was like, I don't want to spend my time doing homework just so I have something for show and tell. And if that's what my relationships are based on, maybe they're not that profound. So ever since then, I've sort of just been drifting away from pop media and pop entertainment. And I don't know, maybe that's me getting old. The problem is now there's so much that it's very difficult. I guess, yeah, you really just need a curation service. You need a friend that gets your wavelength and can suss things out for you. And I guess to some degree, that's the point of the media we currently make or used to make, which is we're being those people for others. But yeah, it's outrageous. Now I just like, what's been captivating me lately. There's and I'm gonna plug this stuff because I feel pretty strongly about it. There's an editing collective on Twitch called Racer Trash. And what they do is they take movies, break them up into segments, assign them out to different editors. The editors go buck wild on their segments. And individual, this is like editors playing. So they'll like, they do crazy visual techniques. They'll imply their own meanings onto the scenes and the segments they get. And then it gets recombined into this ridiculous surrealist video package. To me, cool. that's captivated me lately because it ticks all the boxes for me. It's like remixing of old media. It's I can like watch it and get new ideas for edits and things like that. And then also it's just really fun to see creative people expressing themselves through a medium. And Criken, I know you do this a lot as using video games as your platform. But to me, it ticks all the boxes. It's dumb, it's fun, and there's something to chew on there mentally if you kind of think about what the editor was trying to convey, if they were trying to convey anything. So that's kind of what's been grabbing me lately. It kind of ticks a lot of boxes for me. But I do wish cool. I could find, I don't know, Bruce, I think you were talking about like movies that just come back and haunt you later. I've been thinking a lot about like Phantom Thread and Blue Velvet lately. Movies that like Phantom Thread, when I watched it, I was like, holy crap, that movie's awesome because it gave me a window into humanity I'd never had before. Blue Velvet, the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, man, David Lynch is not a good director. Was like my first takeaway because I didn't think the editing was super good. I didn't think the like framing was very good. I didn't think the shots were very good. But man, like as the years go by and the more I think about that movie, the more I respect it because it really does give me plenty to think about. And the older I get too, I think the more I respect art that is not full. It's 3/4, and then you put in the last quarter yourself. Lynch very
like the description.
Yeah. Lynch very definitely makes films in that way. And the older I get and the more I want to explore, I think the less I want full, complete package narratives that give me everything on a little tray. You know, your Marvel movies or series or whatever. So I haven't really watched Loki because I don't have any faith that it's going to surprise or delight me. But maybe that's short-sighted, and that's where maybe Bruce or someone in chat can tell me, no, it actually does do something interesting and bring some new ideas, maybe.
But that's cool. It kind of feels like we're like 3 different points on a spectrum, I guess, in how we like appreciate new stuff, right? You know, like Bruce's that of try everything, there's value in everything. You know, we just need to like find it and learn from it. Like Lawrence is the like, you know, I know what I like and I know what I want, and so if I don't feel like it's gonna give me something close to that, then I'm, you know, less likely to give it the time of day, versus like whatever the hell I am. I feel like it's somewhere in the middle. So
you're in the middle. Yeah, you're in the middle.
It's cool. I just like to hear everyone's different approaches.
Well, and again, we got to wrap it up. We're definitely over time, but I think to your point, Criken, all of us are friends and have been for years now. So when we disagree about stuff, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's like, who cares? And this is something that's really important that I've been trying to reinforce. When I'm telling you that JoJo's bad, and chat's like, like they're exploding, I'm like, guys, it's okay. You can still love it. You can still love it. It's not a big deal that I think it's bad and you think it's good. We can all be friends. We can all talk about our points of view. It's no big deal. It's subjective.
I'm going to say the ultimate form of transcendence, and I call it that because it's the one that I think I've achieved, is knowing that something's bad and still enjoying it and not feeling the need to defend it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell anyone that JoJo's is high art. Maybe parts of it. Slightly. But...
Slightly.
Yeah, it's not something I'm going to recommend to everybody, and if somebody has a bad time watching it, I'm not about to tell them to hang in there until season 4. I guess season 3 is what people would say with JoJo's, but... Yeah, I love trash. Racer trash. I don't know. And Bruce, kind of like what you were saying, kind of struck a chord with me, and I'm sorry. I promise I'll keep this quick. But you know how you say you like to watch stuff that's maybe outside of your wheelhouse because it teaches you about yourself? That's what trash does for me.
That makes sense.
I find it infinitely more fascinating to see what went wrong than to see everything go right. Because when everything goes right, you get to me, Force Awakens, Episode 7. That was a movie where everything went right.
Everything went right.
And I walked out of the film and I was like, that was fun. And I proceeded to not ever think about it ever again. But I've seen some trash films. I just found a movie that's about breakdance fighting from the director of Sound of Music.
Wait, what's it called?
It's called Rooftops, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, cool dudes, urban dudes get together on the rooftops of New York and they do dance fights on this wooden stage while a DJ blasts some b-boy beats, and then they try to dance each other off the platform. I don't know. It's fun because it's trying to be it's trying to be something and it's not hitting it, but it's fun to see the attempt. So anyway, I don't know. I didn't have a point there.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We reached the end of the podcast. We did it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Ooh. Hey, thanks.
I've noticed that when we do these podcasts less frequently, we have lots more to talk about.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah. But, thank you again for joining us, audience, Lawrence and my chat. Thank you, Criken. Thank you, Lawrence, for always producing the podcast. We appreciate it.
Oh, is it time for plugs? We gonna plug stuff? Hell yeah! So
go ahead. Yeah.
Bruce and we just had there's an edit for the Drunk Mario Golf gameplay that just went up on the Inside Games channel. That's right. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, but we're gonna try. Bruce and I are gonna try to put some gameplays up there every week. We'll see how it goes, but we'll try. So yeah, check that out. Boy, that was intense.
Whew. Boy, oh boy, did I get drunk. What a time.
That was so good. I still have those pants too. Those were good pants.
Man, I was wasted. Criken, what about you? What do you want to talk about?
Oh man, I don't know. I just got back from vacation, so I'm down to stream and see what's up. So I think I'm doing Kenshi tonight.
Nice.
I actually have been meaning to hit you boys up about guesting on my Movie Game Monday series, which I've been taking a little bit of a break from, but I want to bring it back started next week. So if you guys are interested and you have a movie game that you particularly feel attached to, then I think it'd be lovely to have you.
Have you played Avatar yet?
No.
Oh god, there's so many good ones. There's the Wolverine game. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm getting excited.
Okay. Yeah.
That Wolverine game is terrible.
What? Ugh. It's fucking awesome. What are you talking about?
I'm just kidding.
The one made by Raven? Wait, I think Lynn is in chat.
Yeah, he is. He's in my chat. Yeah, he's there.
You can't
I don't know if
talking that mess.
I don't know if Lynn made that game or not. But
that game was sick. Oh, you can grind his face off and see his skull underneath.
No, it was cool.
I think, last aside, that was the last old school game I've ever played because the plot of that game was so different than the movie. but it just like hit one or two scenes that they had in common. So it's like they got some production stills and they were like, I guess they fight in a parking lot at some point, and they had to like make their own story. That it reminded me of like NES adaptations that had nothing to do with the. Anyway, all right, I'm done. I'm gonna.
Great. Well, at some point in the future on a Monday, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I got to think about it because now that Lawrence has stolen Avatar.
Not yet. We got to bone up for the sequel, Bruce. There's going to be another Avatar video game before the next Avatar movie.
I can't
Aren't
wait.
there like 5 Avatar movies in works?
Yes.
Ugh.
I can't wait. Give them all to me. I can't wait to see how bad they get. That's actually what I'm really excited about, is that they could get so bad that they could come back around.
Really?
Oh, I mean, who knows? James Cameron generally does not make bad films, usually. So, like, he's a fucking mastermind, and he has been for years. So, we'll see. But
He knows what he's doing.
he does. He totally does. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks again for watching, everyone. We hope to do this podcast again in the future. So come on by.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.